Okay. Wait, yeah. Give me a moment. Okay, so now I will just run to show you what is the outcome for today. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so today, right, we will implement this layout XML for the diary app. We will have the title, we have the place, and we have the note we can write, and we have the image here. Okay, so without further ado, I will just start. Okay, so yeah, okay, so let's start. Sorry, yeah, wait, give me a second. Okay, so let's start. So now we will go to the main activity.xml here. So it's located at this file, Java, this here, main activity dot, no, we will go to the main activity.xml here. So it's located at the resource file, layout, main activity.xml here. So first, we will go to here to add the recycle view element. Okay, so let's put the recycle view here. So to start with adding the recycle view. Okay, can you guys follow? Yeah. So we will put the recycle view with the match parent, the width with match parent. So the height will be, so the height will be 0 dp. So we'll give this recycle view a name lah. Okay, so we'll put ID, give this ID, then we'll give it this recycle view. Okay, so then we'll go to the orientations. We'll give the orientations to horizontal. Okay, then we'll give this the layout constraint bottom of the bottom parent. Okay, so guys just follow me. Okay, so if I'm too fast, you can just tell me. Okay, then I can slow down a little bit. Constraint add to the end to end. So this also will be just adding parent. Then constraint start off. Parent. Okay. Then constraint top. Constraint top of the bottom of. Okay, then this will give ID, which is main activity toolbar. Okay, then we'll give this. Okay. So we add the recycle view element in the activity.main activity main.xml. Okay, so next we'll go to the here resource layout. We will open a layout. We will create a layout file for the diary app. Okay, so here resource, open layout, right click, new layout resource. Okay, I'll just repeat. So resource here, layout, right click, new layout resource file. Okay, then just click this. So okay, so we'll give this a name. So for me, I'll just give in diary layout because just now I mentioned that we'll give this a layout. Okay, so then this will just change to cut view. Okay, so then it just stick to default lah. Okay, then all default. So click OK. So we will create a diary layout XML. Okay, so in this diary.xml, right? So first, what will I do is we will implement the, just now I mentioned that we'll implement the diary, the title, the place, the image, and the location. So now we'll implement on this XML. Okay, so first we'll go to the text view. We will add a text view first for the diary title. Okay, so text view. So for the text view, right, I will go to match parent and wrap content. Then I'll give this an ID ID. So this ID will be the diary title. Okay. Then I'll give them this a layout align to parent top Align to parent top. Okay. Then I'll give this a padding of 10 dp 10 dp. Then we will give this a color, a shadow color, which is we'll choose grayish, dark grayish. Never mind, you just follow me to type color, dark grayish, this one. Okay, then we will go to the shadow radius, which is 30. I'll just put 30. Then the text, the text will be diary title, title of diary. Okay, so next, move on. We have the wait, before that I'll just add the text color for this also. Forget, text color I'll just put white because later the background will be the dark color, so just put it white. Then text size also I forget to add text size. I'll just put 14 SP 14 SP. So the style I think will be bold because usually the title will just put it bold for more clearer, bold. Then okay. So now we'll continue with the text view for the title, I mean the location and the note So I just copy paste or later we'll just change, just copy paste. This is for the, now we copy paste too, then we'll change this to the note, diary note. So this will stick to match parent, wrap content, and we'll give this a ellipse size. So this ellipse size will give this n, then n, and because it's the node, right, we can write, so we will give this a max length of the diary note. We will give like 500. Then the line, next line, with this 5 line. Then the minimum line, it's just give this a minimum 3 line. Okay, so the padding will be stick to same one, padding. Then this no need shadow color. So we'll give this also a white color. Then we no need to give them this size lah. So just default. So the text maybe you can write hi your name, like because just a note ma. Hi, example lah. I just give I'm Jia Hong. Okay. So for next we'll go to the location, diary location. Diary location. Okay. Adapter. Just change the name. Adapter diary location. Adapter diary note. Okay. So this also will stick to match parent, wrap content, and padding also will stick the same padding. Has the same padding, and no need this one. So the text will be, because it's location ma, so we just put place name lah. Place name. Okay, then the color will stick to white. Yeah, the location should be have both lah. So the text size will be default also. Okay. So now, because you see all is stick together, so we'll give this linear layout to arrange this lah. I'll give this to a linear layout. Linear layout. Okay. Then we'll just go to match parent, wrap content, then how this align layout align. Never mind, I'll just type it out. Android layout align bottom. Okay, so just put bottom of the adapter diary image. This one later we'll put this image. We haven't, yeah. Okay, then continue with a background. We'll just add this a background. I'll just put this background. So just follow me lah. The background will be 7337 A36. Yeah. So this is the background. 7337 3A36. Okay. So the orientation will be the vertical. Orientation be vertical. Okay. Then I'll give this layout also a name lah. Better. So later we can align. Adapter linear layout. No. Okay. Okay, so we'll put the text view inside this thing. Yeah, something like this. Okay. Okay. Place name. Oh, this I haven't. Oh, okay. So now we will go to the image. We'll do, because just now we have the 3 text view already. Then we now add the image view. So image view for the diary. So this will be the match parent and wrap content, same like the down there the one. Then we have the layout margin. Visibility will be visible, and I'll give this ID. This ID called adapter diary image. Okay. Image. Okay. So now, okay, we'll align this using the relative layout. Okay. and this will be the match parent also, and wrap content, and I'll give this a background color with cream lah, cream alpha 50. Okay, so we'll put all inside here, put everything inside. Yeah. Put everything inside this one. So yeah, see, it's look like something like this already. Okay, so now we'll continue. Wait. Okay, sorry. Okay, so okay, now because we just align again the cut view. Okay, so now we'll just add the layout, the gravity, layout gravity to center, and a margin layout margin 20 dp, then elevation 10 dp, corner radius will also be 10 dp, cut elevation will be 10 dp also. Okay, so app tools, height, gravity, margin, yeah. So relative view, okay, done. Text view, okay, so text view, okay. Hardcode bold, okay. So yeah, so this, I think I typed something wrong. Yeah. Wait, you guys can use the cheat sheet here, yeah. Forget to tell you guys. You guys can use the cheat sheet here. The code is in here. This diary layout XML. Yeah. This code is in here. So you guys can use this just using this code. So the cheat sheet I think already put in the chat box, right? Yeah, the cheat sheet is inside the chat box. So you just click in. If you want to copy also can lah. Like copy and just paste it here. Yeah. I think just now I typed something wrong. Just paste it lah. So it will be something like this. Okay. Yeah. So now we'll continue with the adapter class. So just now we mentioned that we need to have the adapter class to connect the data. So right here, go to this Java, com example diary, then click new class. So then we set this as the diary adapter. So then just click enter. So this diary adapter class, right, will extend a generics adapter, which is called recycle view. Okay, dot adapter. Okay, this one, the second one. Then we need to have the view holder class, diary adapter dot view holder class, view holder. So right now, because this will show an error because we haven't defined this yet. So right now you just come to here, right click the red button here, then just implement. So it will pop up this dialog. Then you just click 3 methods and implement all these methods. Okay. So just click OK. So the Android Studios will create these empty holder methods. So we have the onCreate methods here, onCreate view holder, and onBuy view holder, which will be reference the diary view holder, which haven't been implemented. So later we will implement this. Okay. So now, before we go to implement this, we will create an inner class called diary view holder first. Okay. So right click. Okay. So see here, right click, create a class. Click. So we have a class here. Okay. So this class, right, we will extend a recycle view holder. Extend recycle view dot view holder. Okay. View holder extend. We'll give this a static class. So this also will pop up error because we haven't implement the constructor. So we will just create. So this red button here, create. Okay. Okay, so are you guys okay with this? So right now, we will add the variables for this class. So the variables will be, just now we say that the diary app will be having text view, right? Text view of what? Text view of the title, diary title, and text view for the diary location. Diary note first, diary note. Text view for the diary location. Diary location. And an image view for the diary image. Diary image. Okay. So right now, this all it's have the red line because we need to add this in the constructor. Okay. So right now, we'll add this in the constructor here. So inside we'll initialize this view in the diary layout XML. So diary, we'll go to the diary title first. Diary title equals to, yeah, we use here. So here, right, if you use like find view by ID, right, you can't find it because this is inside this class. So you need to use the item view to search it. Item view dot find view by ID. Okay, so r dot id dot, yeah, title. Okay, so go to next, diary dot note, item view, find by ID, r dot id adapter note. Okay, so we will continue to do this for the location and the image. Item view dot find view by ID, r dot id dot adapter dot adapter diary. Now last, diary image, item view. Okay, so done with here. So now we will create a diary class before we move to implement this. We will just create a diary class first. So now come to just now here, the directory. So just right click to create a diary class. Yeah. Diary, yeah. Just create a diary class. Anything you do lah. Diary, okay. Just click enter. So this will just have some of the variables for the diary lah, like the title, the note, the diary ID, type. So later this will use for the database lah, yeah, this class, okay. So title, note, diary ID, type, image, and the place name, okay. So this here very easy, just create an empty constructor first. And then we will just take the get and set method, getter and setter. For this, just right click, generate, getter and setter, select all, Okay, so we have this method. Later we can get the title for the node, set the title, anything lah. So yeah. Okay. So now we will go back to the diary adapters to implement the methods. So let's go back to the diary adapter class. Okay. So in here, right, we have because these diary adapters, right, it's not like the other like the activity main XML, like the main activity.java. So we will have to set the content so that we can have the because he don't have the content, so we have to set the content lah. So we need to here inside we need to have the content private final context. Sorry, yeah, context. We need to have the context. Okay, we need to have the context, and we need to have the release for the diary also, because later we need to pass the list of diary in this array list. We have the diary just now we declare here. So diary list. So now it's straight line, right? So we just create a constructor for this lah. Right click, show, add constructor for both. Yeah. So we have the constructor here. Okay. Just right click lah, then create a constructor. Or you can do this manually by like right click, generate constructor, then just click the two item. Yeah. And it will also be the same for this. Okay. So now after the constructor, right? Because we have the array list ready, so we can return the item count by just return the diary list dot size lah. Yeah. Okay. So now we will fill in the methods for the on create view holder. Okay. So for on create view holder, right? It's so for like the other activity, right? So they are connected to the XML by set view content. You see, wait, let me go to the main activity.java. So here we have the set view content to connect with the activity.main.xml. But in here, right, we don't have. So we must this method will be this method, the on create method, will be the set holder lah, set for the to connect the XML here, connect the direct XML. Okay. So how we implement it is we need to have the recycle view adapter to connect the diary layout by inflating a layout. So later we will have the layout inflator to connect the recycle view adapter lah. So I'll just type the layout inflator here, layout inflator. Okay, layout. Later I'll explain again what is layout inflator. Yeah, layout inflator. Okay, so we have the view layout inflator dot inflate r dot add layout diary layout comma parent force. Okay, then we will return the view lah. Return new diary view. Okay, so can you guys follow until here? So I'll just explain again. So just like the main activity.xml, main activity.java, right? We have the set content view to connect with the activity.main. So here, right, we also need to connect with the layout XML. So because we don't have the set content.view, right? So we will have this to connect with lah. Okay, so the layout inflators will do that job, which is it will read the layout layout diary.layout, and we'll convert it into the corresponding view item. Okay. So later you'll return the view lah for this one. Okay. So next, we'll go to the onBind view holder. So this onBind view holder, right, is to assign the content to the view we found in the diary view holder class. Okay. So the holder variables contain the view initialized or found in the diary view holder class. So for that, right, we need to get the content from the list, then and assign them to the different positions here, in our recycle view adapter. So let's do this. So diary dot diary equals to diary list.get position. I need to get the position first. Then we will set the content for the title and the node. So holder dot diary title, set title, diary get set text, sorry, typo. Diary dot get. Then we will set for the node also, holder dot diary set text, diary get node. Okay. So then after this, right, we will check the diary types to set the content for image and the place name correctly. So we have to check the type. Diary type. I think I better comment this out. So check the diary type. To set the content for image and place name. So we will get the diary dot get type. Type equals to text. So holder diary location. Set visibility view gone. So later we have the default image if the image is if no image attached lah. So we will have, I mean it's inside this one. Sorry, it's inside here. So we will have so okay. So you guys can take this code in here. Here, diary adapter, it's in here. Here, okay. onBind view holder. Okay, now we'll just continue to type now. So we will have default image. If no image attached. Okay. So we have this lit with context. This is a bit long lah. Okay. So you guys can just copy paste if you want. Log in, background image. Okay. We'll transform this. New rounded 15. New center crop. This is a bit long. Wait, let me. Okay. New center crop. Transition. Drawable. Okay, it's too long already. Okay. Last dot into holder diary image. Yeah, so we have the default image if no image attached lah. Okay, so you have this image if no image attached. Okay. Okay. So yeah, now we go to else if the diary type it's equals to image. The type equals to image. Image. So we will just holder dot diary location dot set text diary dot get place name. Okay. String image URL diary dot get image. Yeah. So if got image, right, then we will just get the image URL to the later display lah. If no image, we will set the default one. Okay. So using we will load the drawable item the background image. Okay. So then we will continue. So now we will check if make sure that this URL, right, it's not empty to avoid the app to crash. So we will just check lah. So check to make sure image URL it's not empty to avoid. Okay, so now we will check lah. Sorry, yeah, should be inside here. So if image URL is empty, then we need to use the default one. Okay. Lib load image URL dot transform new rounded corner 15 new the prop transform the transition. It's too long, so I will just transition drawable transition option the crossfade into to holder dot diary image. Okay, so now we have these two methods already. So all the methods are we have implement all these methods here. So later, right, so we have complete all these. Where's the error? Am I having error? Why red line? Okay, let me check. Okay, center crop here. Yeah, okay. So all the methods are implemented. So if you guys can't follow, you can go to the cheat sheet here. Yeah, diary adapters, and this two is the method. This two is the method, yeah, for the on create one and for the on bind view holder. Okay. So now we will go back to the main activity.java to initialize just now the diary adapters and the view holders. Okay. So open to the main activity.java here. So in here, we'll initialize it. So we'll initialize. So we'll initialize the recycle view here. Yeah, just type this. Initialize this is enough. Okay. This one. Okay. So later, we will come to the onCreate method here. OnCreate method here. on create method here, then we come into inside to find to initialize it, the recycle view, cycle view. Okay, so we'll come to the recycle view here to initialize this. Recycle view equals to find view by id r.id.recycle view. Then so in order to enable our recycle view, right, we need to initialize the linear layout for this also, which will have the linear layout manager to display this thing. Because just now in the diary.xml, right, so the orientation, right, we set already it's horizontal. Where is it? Okay, it's okay. Yeah, just now the recycle view is the horizontal view. So in here we will just use the horizontal view also lah. So linear layout manager, horizontal layout manager, new linear. Then because we are in the main activity, so in here we will just put this into the constructor and linear horizontal. Okay. Then we will give the recycle view a default linear layout. We will set layout manager to just now the one horizontal layout manager. Yeah. So when you run your applications, like you will get the like this. You have this recycle view ready, but you still cannot have the real-time data yet because later Bader will continue with the Firebase session. Yeah, to get the data and put it in here. Okay, I think that's all for me. So I'll pass to Bader.
Hello, thank you, Jahong. Let's first have a 2-minute break, and then we are going to continue. So.
Yeah, you guys can ask any question. Yeah, if you can't follow, just feel free to ask any questions so that we can help you. Yeah, just put it in the chat box lah.
Hello, everyone. So
Hi.
I'll be taking the second part of the session. Thank you very much, Yahong. Now we're going to continue. We're going to get the data from Firebase, and then we are going to populate the recycler view. Before I start, I just made some slides to explain a few ideas about Firebase and how we are going to get the data. So in order to get data from Firebase real-time database, you need to attach an asynchronous listener to your database. Now, what is an asynchronous listener? To better explain what an asynchronous listener is, I think we should first understand what a synchronous listener is. So this code over here, try to assume that this is a synchronous listener, and you have this chunk of code in your application. So when you try to use this database API, this imaginary database API, use the .get method, and then you point it to any reference in your database that you want. Also, try to assume that instead of result, you are getting a username. And of course, you can't just use any database API and get the data, and then you just receive the data as a string and perfect and ready for you to add in your text view or whatever. You, of course, need to parse the data if it's in JSON format or whatever, but just assume that you're getting a username from the database. So if this is an asynchronous listener, what will happen is that you are going to get the result, which is a username, and then immediately after you can add your logic immediately after this line of code to basically populate maybe a text view, or maybe you want to check the name of the username. You can do whatever kind of logic, and you can do it just simply after this method call. And what is going to happen? Of course, your database lives in the cloud, so it's going to go and fetch, and then once it fetches, it's simply going to go to the next line of code. This is what asynchronous callback is. However, if you're using an asynchronous callback, in the same way, and you try to add your logic after this method call, you're going to have an error because an asynchronous callback basically goes to the background, and then it's not going to wait until the data is retrieved, and it's going to immediately go to the next line of code. And what's going to happen? Your username is going to be null, and you're going to try to use the null username, maybe to put it in a text view, and then your app is going to crash. So this is what an asynchronous method does. And why do we use it? Basically, try to think of a scenario like if you are cooking and you're using your oven. So if you try to put any dish in the oven, you're not going to just put it in the oven and just wait in front of the oven until the entire dish is done. You're going to put it in the oven and then leave it, forget about it. And then once it's done, there is going to be a timer. It's going to tell you that the dish is already done and you can go ahead and take it out. So basically what we're doing is the same exact thing. Instead of waiting for the data to be retrieved, we're actually doing other stuff, or we're performing other logic in our Java file while the data is being retrieved. Now, in order to know when the data is being retrieved, and in order to use the data once it has been retrieved, we are going to use a callback. So this is an example of the database reference that we are going to use. So first of all, you have to create a reference. So a reference basically points to whatever ID or document inside your real-time database is. So if you're trying to, let's say, read from the users table, what you're going to do is just point it to a user node. Over here, like they're adding a listener or getting the reference of a document that is inside or under the server and saving data, Fireblog, and posts. For us, what we're going to do, we want to read the data from a specific user ID. So we're going to take that user ID and then put the reference inside the get reference. And then next step is we're going to add a value event listener. And this is going to fetch the data to know it's retrieved, or you're going to be able to perform whatever logic you want after the data has been retrieved inside of the on data change callback that you have over here. So if you try to put whatever logic outside of this callback, so somewhere over here, you're going to get an error because it's not going to wait till all of this logic or all of the data has been returned. It's going to basically just make a call to the database, and then whenever the data has been retrieved, it's going to update the data snapshot over here in this on data change method. Okay, so this is a basic example of a asynchronous listener. Now we don't have just one asynchronous listener. We have multiple options. We're going to cover the value event listener that you see over here, and also the child event listener. But for the project, we're going to use just one. So let's look at the type of listeners. This is the database structure. However, I'm going to come back to it later. So, okay, I said we're going to cover two types of listeners. One is the value event listener. So a value event listener listens for data changes to a specific location in your database. So what you do is you want to create a value event listener. You just point it to a specific reference, and it's going to retrieve all the data whenever any change occurs. So you're not just getting it one time. Actually, when you attach a listener to any reference, a value event listener to any reference, you're basically going to get the same exact data if any change occurs from adding, updating, or deleting. Second, you have a child event listener. Child event listener is very similar to value event listener. It listens for changes in a specific database reference. However, it listens to the changes in children. Okay, so in order to visualize it, let's look at this database that we have. This is an example of the database that we're using. If you populate it with some data, it should look something like this. First of all, we have the user node. Okay, in our database, we have many users, and each user can have many diaries. Okay, so basically we have a list of users, and under each user we have a list of diaries. Let's say we add a child or a value event listener on the entire reference. So on the root reference, basically we're not going to specify which user to put the reference on. We're just going to put a reference on the entire database. What's going to happen is that whenever any user adds a diary, the data is going to be retrieved if we attach a value event listener on the root database. So we don't want that to happen. We just want data updates whenever a user updates his or her diaries. So for that specific user, we want to know if there is any update on his data. So in order to do that, you just basically attach a listener to the user node. And for us in our database, we have users, and the ID of the user is going to identify each user in the database. So in order to listen to any change in the data for any user, you just basically put a listener on the user ID. So if we put a listener on the user ID, we're going to know of any changes in the diaries, whether they added new diaries, deleted, or updated any new diaries. So if we add a value event listener, it's going to retrieve all the data every time a change has been made. However, if we add a child event listener on this, let's say, user node, what's going to happen is first time it's going to retrieve all of the data at once. And then if there is any update, it's going to retrieve only the child that has been updated or added or removed. And let's look at the method callbacks that we can use with the on-child event listener. So these are some of the callbacks that you can use. You have on-child added, on-child change, on-child move, and on-child removed. So all of these are very intuitive. You can guess what it's going to do just from the name itself. So uh, all of these are going to retrieve just one child. However, for the value event listener, it's going to retrieve all of the children, and it's going to retrieve it as a data snapshot object. More on that when we start to code. So I guess that's all for the presentation. Now let's try to write some code. Okay. Before I start coding, actually, I wanted to mention one thing. Now, if you remember, we had a problem in the login activity that results from the default web client ID. If you haven't been able to fix that problem, we actually found a very easy fix. So what you do is you try to go to the Gradle files and then add this line of code, apply true. Now this might work. However, I tried on some devices, it's going to work. On others, it's not going to work. However, if it still persists, then it's fine. It's not a big problem if you have this error. Just continue working and you can just run the application without any problem. So now let's try to go to the main activity. Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do, whenever the user opens the main activity, we want to load all of the data. So it would make sense to put or to add a method such as get data inside of the onCreate so that it gets the data whenever the user opens the main activity. So let's try to do that. And just like I said, we're going to add a listener on the user ID. So we need to get the user ID for that. So first thing I'm going to do is get the Firebase user. And we actually already have a Firebase user. So I don't need to get the Firebase user again. So I'm just going to say if Firebase user is not equal to none. It's always very important to check if the Firebase user is not equal to none. So over here, I'm just going to add a method called get diaries. Get diaries and pass in the Firebase user.getUID. Now we haven't created this method already, so I'm going to hover and click on create method get diaries. Okay, so this is where all the magic is going to happen. We need to get the diaries from Firebase. So the first step is, first of all, we need to create a list of objects. Okay, and what type of objects are we going to use? Now you have created a diary or a diary class with Jiahong. So we're going to get diaries from Firebase or objects that actually resemble this class structure. If you look at Firebase, over here, the diary objects or the diaries that are stored resemble this class. Almost all the diaries have titles, types, notes, diary IDs, and whatsoever. Some do have images and some don't have images. So this is where we're going to use the diary class. I'm going to create a list, array list, and give it a generic type of diary. And I'm going to call it a diary array list. Set it to a new array list. Okay, so now that we've done that, now we have to use the adapter that Jiahong has created. So I'm going to initialize a new adapter. I'm going to call it diary or diary adapter. Diary adapter equals to new diary adapter. And then we have to pass in the context in activity this. And then I need to pass in the diaries list. Now the diaries list is still empty right now. And we are going to see how we're going to update the adapter to show the result once we have received the diaries. So lastly, I need to attach this adapter to the recycler view. This is important. So I'm going to do this recycler view dot set adapter diary adapter. Now I need to create a database reference. Database reference. This database reference is going to point at all of the documents in our database. So actually I need to use the Firebase database.get instance .get reference. So this is actually going to point us to our root reference. We don't want that, as I mentioned before. We just want the diaries that are specific to the user that is already signed in. So in order to fetch those diaries, we have to call database reference dot child and then pass in the UID. And then dot add value event listener and then pass in a new value event listener interface. And once you press click, it's going to override all of these methods. Now, as I said, we have more than one type of event listeners. We have the value event listener and the child event listener. You are free to try any of those. And if you're wondering, well, what if I don't want the data to be updated every time when the database has been updated? You just want to get the data just one time. What you can do is use another type of listener called listener for single value event. This is going to fetch the data just one time, and whatever updates or changes that happen in the database, it's not going to be reflected. Okay, so I have created this. Okay, now the data on data change has a parameter called data snapshot. Now, data snapshot is just a class that Firebase provides in the Android SDK. It's basically to make your life much easier. If you have worked with any REST API that you receive some kind of maybe JSON data, there are lots of APIs that return JSON responses. You might have a lot of trouble trying to parse all of the data. You need to get the data and then look for some keys, and then some keys might not even exist, and it's a real hassle trying to work with all the JSON data. And since the data that is or Firebase real-time database is actually a JSON data store, Firebase didn't opt to return just simple JSON object, so they created a data snapshot, which is much easier to work with. So data snapshot, in order to get the data from the data snapshot, you need to use the data or snapshot.get value, and then pass it a diary dot class. Okay, and I'm going to create a diary equals to snapshot.getValue. Now, what this is going to do is simply get the value of the snapshot and cast it as a diary class. So you don't have to do any object mapping. You don't have to look for any keys. It's basically going to take the object from the database and convert it to a class with these attributes. So over here, go to the main activity. Over here, if you try to access any of the diary attributes, you're going to be able to access them without any problem. And if some attributes actually are missing in the database, meaning that maybe some diaries don't have images, but over here in the diary class, as you can see, we have a string image. So don't worry, it's not going to return any error. It's going to be completely fine. Now, one thing that I missed actually is that the value event listener is attached on the user ID. So we don't have just one diary, we have actually many diaries. So it's not going to retrieve one diary object, it's going to retrieve a list of diaries. So if you are familiar with Java, if you have gone through FOP, you know that whenever you're working with lists, you need to use for loops. So I'm going to use a for each loop to loop through all of the objects and then cast each one as a diary or get the value as a diary and then put it in my list. So I'm going to use a for each loop, and inside the for each loop, I'm going to get a data snapshot. Okay. And then in order to loop through the snapshots, you can't just call snapshot because snapshot is an object. You need something that is actually iterable. So you have to use .getChildren, and as you can see, it returns an iterable of data snapshots. So this way you can iterate through all of the data snapshots. Okay, and inside, I'm going to take this snapshot. So not snapshot, snapshot one. Let's actually change the name, make it more easy. Okay, so now I'm getting all of the diaries, and then I'm going to add them to my diary list. Diary list dot add diary. So that's all that you need to do. However, one important thing that you need to do, you need to always check for null values. Over here, I didn't check if the snapshot is null. If the snapshot is null, and then we try to call the snapshot.getChildren method, well, it's null, so it's going to return an error because this snapshot is null, it's empty, and you're calling the getChildren method on it. So this is going to be a problem. In order to avoid it, you just call if snapshot.exists. And then you take this for loop over here and plug it over in here. Now, am I done? No. I still need to do one more thing, which is clear the array list. Now, why am I doing this? Okay, this might seem a bit confusing. We just initialized the list over here. Why am I clearing the list? And if you're not familiar with the clear method, it basically empties the array list. Now, I have said before that value event listener is going to retrieve the data every time there is a new update. So imagine if a user opened the main activity and already has multiple diaries. What if he goes and adds a new diary and then returns to the main activity? What is going to happen? It's basically the same event listener is going to retrieve all the data again, and then it's going to add it on top of the diaries that already exist in the array list. So that's why we have to use the .clear method, so that whenever any new batch of data arrives, we actually clear the array list and then upload or add the new data that we have received. So that's all that you need to do to get all the diaries. Let me try to run and see if I have any error. Okay, just checking to see if everything is good. Okay, now I don't have any diaries in my application, so let me try to add a couple. Let me add something, and let me save the diary. And the diary has been added successfully. Let's just open this and go back. Let's see if we have any problems. The diary is not displaying, which is weird. Let's try to run again and see if the diaries are being added. Okay, so one thing I forgot to add is that just like I told you, we created a new adapter. We created a new adapter and initialized it to an empty array list. Okay, now we have appended all of the data to the array list. Okay, so we have stored all of the data. However, the adapter actually doesn't know that the array list has been updated. So in order to notify the adapter that new data, there is new batch of data that has arrived, what you do is just call a method called notify dataset changed. So you add diary adapter dot notify dataset changed. Now let's see if this is going to work. Okay. I think this is going to work. Let me try it now. And it still isn't running. Ah, okay, we have it. It's a bit late, but it's working. Now, I don't know why it took so much time though. Maybe it's probably due to my internet connection. However, it's getting the data. And just to prove to you, or to just show you what I mean by or what I mean when I say that value event listener, it always gets the data. It just keeps on listening on the database. So I'm going to go to Firebase, and I'm going to go, I think this is my user ID. What I'm going to do is delete this diary and see what's going to happen in our application. Is it going to update or not? Now, is it late or it's actually not working? Okay, it seems like it's not updating. However, if you want to check if something is working, it's always good to use log. You can use logs to print messages in your console. So I'm going to print a message just to see if something is happening. Let me print hey. So if you want to use logs, you have to add a key and then some kind of message. So I'm going to say the listener is working. It's always good practice actually to give meaningful messages. So I'm going to say Firebase value event listener. Okay, and I need to import this class. Let's see what's happening. And open the debugger. And I forgot the semicolon. Okay. So now I'm going to have an empty activity because I deleted the diary. I need to add a new one. And my laptop is a bit laggy. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to save the diary. Okay, now that was much faster actually. It was much faster. Let's go to the debugger and see what happened. Okay, if you use logs, you can go to the debugger or go to the console, and you're going to see the messages that you added inside your code. So for updating, or when I added the diary and then went back, the log printed the message. The listener is working, so it's fetching the data. Let's see if it's going to work again when I delete. And if it deletes, if it prints, this is going to show you that this listener is actually still listening on the database. Let's see. And it seems like it's not listening on the database. Let's see, let's expand. So it has printed just one time. Now, why is that? It is not. Aha, okay. So the problem is that, okay, we are printing the log message if the snapshot exists. However, when we delete the data from Firebase, we don't have anything in the snapshot. So snapshot exists is actually going to return false. So it's not going to print this log message, as you can see. And the diary adapter notify data set change is actually not going to work because we're only notifying the adapter that the data set has been changed if there has been any change in the database. So what I have to do is, outside of the if statement, I'm going to notify the diary adapter. Now let's see if this is going to work. So this is how actually log messages are very useful. Whenever you have a problem that you are not sure exactly where the source is, you can always throw in some logs and try to see or figure out what's going on, or if some values are changing or not. So lastly, I'm going to add anything, and I'm going to save the data. Okay, now let's see what's going to happen. Hopefully it deletes and doesn't embarrass me, and yes, thank God. Okay, so now we can see the diary has been removed. But okay, one problem with the UI over here is that it's a bit lacking. If a user just installed the application, or if he doesn't have, or if he or she doesn't have any diaries, it's going to be blank, and it's not something very pleasing from a user experience or user interface design perspective. So let's try to add some animations. Now, if you want to add animations in the classic Android way, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard and difficult, and it's going to take a lot of time. However, there are third-party libraries, one of which we're going to use. It's called Lotiflies, that makes adding animation very simple and easy. I'm going to show you how to do that. So you can add, first of all, you have to go to the Gradle files, and I have provided the implementation inside of the cheat sheet. So go ahead and copy the code over there and paste it in your Gradle file. And the library that we're going to use is called Lotiflies. Now, I also added a link to Lotiflies. I'm going to go ahead and go to Lotiflies, and you can use Lotiflies not just for Android development. You can use it for Android or iOS, even web development. You can use it anywhere, and it's so simple and easy to use. You just simply go to Lotiflies, to the main website, and basically search for any animation that you want. We're going to search for something specific to our own application, so I'm going to search for a diary. And as you can see, there are lots of animations. Most of them are actually free. Some are actually they charge a very small amount of money. However, you are almost always going to find something that is relevant to your purpose that is going to be for free. And for us, we actually chose this animation. Now, one very cool thing about Lottie is that you can even change the colors. So I can go ahead and go to edit layer colors. Of course, I have to sign in, and I'm not going to do that. But you can basically change the background colors, the colors of some components of the animation, even the background color. You can even change the size. Once you're done, you can just download as a Lottie.json file. Now, we have already taken this animation and made some changes to the binder that is in kind of gray color. We changed it to pink, and we have added a link to the Google Drive file. So you can just go to the Google Drive file from the cheat sheet and then download the animation if you want the same exact animation that I'm going to use. Once you have downloaded it, you just go create a raw directory file inside of the res directory by just right clicking a new Android resource directory. If you don't have a raw directory, you need to do that, and then just choose raw directory. Once you have created the directory, just simply plug in the animation that you have downloaded. And one more step you need to do, you have to create a view for it. Now, for Lottie there is a view. Let me just close the emulator. Close some of the tabs. Okay. So if you're trying to add Lottie animation in your application, you can just use the Lottie animation view, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a 0 dp and give the height of 200 dp. Now, the size of the animation is a bit tricky. You need to see actually how the animation looks. So you might find yourself sometimes testing between different heights and scale types to adjust to the animation. So we have found that the best size is actually 0 to 200 dp. I'm going to center the animation, so I'm going to add constraints. If you try to center any view inside of a constraint layout, you just set all of the constraints to parent. So I'm going to do that. You can also just simply drag over here, and here, and then to the top. Okay. Now that you have done that, you also need to do one more step, specify which animation. To do that, you just type raw, and it's going to give you the Lottie raw res tag, and then just enter the diary animation. One more thing we should add is we need to adjust view bounds. This basically tries to fit the animation inside of the view. If you don't add adjust view bounds, I think some of the animation is going to be cropped. So just like I said, you have to experiment sometimes with Lottie animation view to see which one is perfect. And then one more thing is we have to specify loop to true. If you set loop to true, then it's going to repeat the animation and it's not going to stop after the first animation. And one more thing is autoplay. So if you set autoplay to true, it's going to play the animation without having or without any code in Java. If you want, you can set it to false, and then you can actually play the animation from the Java class. But for us, we just are going to set autoplay to true over here. I guess that's all that you need to do. One more thing is we are going to also add some text to display to the user that they don't have any diaries. So I'm going to set the text over here. Text, no diaries yet. And I'm going to change the font family to Pacifico just to follow the font in our application. And I'm going to go ahead and place it underneath the animation view. So I'm going to give it a top constraint top to bottom off. And let me just give this view an ID. I'm going to call it animation view. Pass it here. So now it's in the bottom. And also I want to center it. So I'm going to give it constraints from the end and the start as parent. Start of parent. So now it's centered and it's below the text view. Let's also give it some margin from the top, or let's just give it a regional margin of 10 dp. Now also let's try to change the font, the color, text color. Let's set it to cream. Actually, cream is too bright. Let's give it brownish. Yeah. So this looks nice, not bad. Okay. Now I'm going to set the visibility to gone because we don't want to display it at first. We only want to display the animation and the text view if there is no diaries to display. So now I'm going to go to the main activity and add the text view. Text view. Let's call it no diary text view. And also I'm going to create a Lottie animation view. I'm going to call it Lottie animation view. Then you have to find the views. So we say no dot text view equals to find view by ID. And I actually didn't give it any ID, so no. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna copy and just paste over here. Next is the Lottie animation view. I'm gonna find it. And I actually forgot the name of the Lottie animation view. Excuse me for my Alzheimer's. And okay, now we have found all of the views that we need. Now we said we want to display the animation view and the text if there are no diaries. So that means if the snapshot doesn't exist, so we can add an else statement over here. We just set the visibilities to visible. No diary text view dot set visibility visible, and the animation as well set visibility visible. So that's all that we need to do. Now let's run the application and see what's going to happen. Give it some time. Close Lottieflies actually, because Lottieflies takes a lot of your computer resources, so I don't recommend running it while you're running your application on Android Studio. Now it should display because we don't have any diaries as far as I remember, and as you see, so it looks very nice, and the animation is centered, and we have the text below. Let's try to add a new diary and see if it's actually removing the animation. Let's save the diary and see. Oh, I signed out by mistake. sign in again. Okay, and there is actually no way of knowing if the diary has been removed or not, unless we add one more. And we can actually see when it's when we're scrolling. So it seems like there is nothing in the background, or it might be the case that the recycler view actually has a white background, so it's blocking the animation. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's not actually displaying the animation. So that's all for today's session. We've come a very, very long way. We're almost done with the application. Uh, we have added the login, also added the diaries, adding diaries for each user, also displaying the diaries. We still don't have the deletion of diaries, and that's one thing that you can actually try to implement if you are going to participate in the Android challenge that we're going to open. Uh, if you have any ideas, please go ahead and share them. It seems like we have some time. We can discuss any of your ideas, even if you have something that might seem a bit, let's say, not feasible, or something that you think is not actually very smart. Please go ahead and voice out all of your ideas, no matter how dumb you think they are. But trust me, they are not as dumb as you think they are. And we are going to be open to discussing them. Just like I said, uh, even in the last session that I was presenting, I mentioned that you can add different sign-in options like Twitter, GitHub, Facebook. That is one thing that you can do. One more thing you can do is the deletion of diaries. If you want to implement that and you don't know how to do it, please go ahead and ask us in the comment section. Maybe we can give you some help or an idea of how to do it. There are lots of possibilities that you can do. Also, maybe related to the layout, changing some of the layout elements and components. All of this is possible. So I'm going to uh, stop for now, and I'll be waiting for any of your questions. Please go ahead and ask any questions. Don't worry, no one is judging you. Everyone is a beginner over here, including myself. We're all learning. So yeah, please go ahead and voice whatever you have in mind.
Thank you, Badr and Jahong, for this nice session. Uh, Myself, I really enjoyed listening to you guys. One thing about our Android Development Challenge, um, last week I already gave you guys some updates about it. However, next week, which is our last session, and we will be working on adding our machine learning model to our app, and that session is our last session, and we will give the full introduction and full updates on our challenge. There has been some changes actually in our prize categories, and we will be introducing you our judges. And there will be also updates on our social media, so stay tuned there. And for now, if you have any question, please go ahead and ask. You can turn on your mic, or you can type it in the chat box. And later on, if I'm sure that many of you actually watching our watching our recorded videos of this session. So during the session, if whenever you're watching it and you have problem, please don't hesitate. You can private message me and ask me about your problems. As soon as I'm free, I'll try to answer your problems. And thank you for staying tuned up to this session. Please don't forget to do your attendance. So we will be closing it at 10:15. Please don't forget to do your attendance, and please do share your feedback with us in the feedback form. It's also in our cheat sheet, and I pasted it in the chat box. It's anonymous. We don't know who's saying what, so please give us your feedback. We really appreciate it, and we looking into getting better every time.
So does anyone have any question or any idea that they're trying to implement, but they're still not sure actually how to implement it? Go ahead, please voice out whatever you have in mind. We're going to try our best to help you out.
没有，你等一下，等一下。
There is one question. Any tips in finding external libraries? Barra, do you want to answer that?
Yes, okay. So external libraries, I would always recommend to try to use external libraries, even if it's for simple operations, simple logic. First of all, because it's tested, so you're not going to have to try to reinvent the wheel and then do something that is actually not related to some of the functionalities of your applications. So you don't lose focus on the actual features of your application. If you try to find any external library, first of all, whatever feature that you're trying to implement, first of all, try to search on Google, look in Stack Overflow, how people are solving them, and always do very good research before starting, because sometimes you might think you know how to do it, but there is actually a much better way to do it. So Stack Overflow has a lot of content. Read through every single thread in Stack Overflow. Some of them, they add some libraries. Some of them, they add their own implementation. Always go for libraries, especially if you're still a beginner. That is going to help you a lot. Other than that, if you want libraries that are specific to Android, you can go to Android Arsenal. It has a lot of libraries that you can use. I have used a lot of libraries from Android Arsenal, so it's very helpful. Let me write the name in the comment section. Android Arsenal. And yeah, that's basically it. Did I answer your question?
I would like to add something also regarding this external libraries. So sometimes there are some libraries that they're not actually as famous, or not many people know about it or they use it, and you won't even find it in Stack Overflow unless you're searching a lot and with some really special keyword for those on like Stack Overflow. But there are like many of these libraries are available through GitHub. So for example, in Android Studio, when you are using an external library, you are implementing a line of code in a dependency inside build.gradle, and there are lots of third-party libraries, and it's not a really big library, and it's actually solving just a very small functionality of your app that you want, or even it's a view. So, and you can find that in GitHub, and it's a GitHub code, and they already implemented the getting the libraries with Android, and you can get that code and implement it in your project. So I guess we will end the session. I'll try to dismiss the recording now. Thank you everyone, and have